I hope people do enjoy their dinner and feel free to eat as we are speaking. Tonight's program is all about the power of technology and partnerships in accelerating the net zero transition. As Schneider Electric enables both of those things across industries, what do you see as the key initiatives that actually move the needle on global decarbonisation?
Thanks, Jess. First of all, I'm thrilled to be there. Looking forward to the conversations we'll be having tonight and obviously tomorrow. I think for me, there's two real messages that I would like to convey. The first one, since it was Earth Day on Monday.
It was.
It's a good reminder that now is the time to act. In other words, commitments, target settings are great, they're definitely not enough. And it's time to act and act really fast. And so therefore, bridging for me strategy and implementation or action is really key. What you have up there is a traditional decarbonization journey. And so, of course, the first steps are defining the overall commitments in line with a 1.5 degrees trajectory. What we believe fundamentally in Schneider is that we want to shorten the time between these bold commitments are made and then afterwards where we need to act effectively. Now, what do we mean by acting? Acting is first having a good understanding where we sit in terms of baseline on scope 1, scope 2, but more importantly now, of course, on your complete value chain, both upstream and downstream, which is scope 3 emissions. And for us, we really believe that digitization is key in regards to understanding your baseline on your overall carbon footprints. And once that step is done, is then the implementation of the different decarbonization levers. Now, I would argue the fact that on scope 1 and 2 emissions, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that it's a no-brainer, but I think that the levers are well known. I think we saw in the previous panel that energy efficiency, for example, was one of no-brainer decarbonization levers. And then, of course, it's greening the energy mix. Where I would really like to insist on is one of the latter decarbonization levers, which is maybe the most difficult, is to engage the chain and therefore decrease the overall scope 3 emissions upstream and downstream, because it's a matter of engaging your ecosystem, engaging your suppliers, engaging the value chain. And that is sometimes where you don't have complete control, and that's where the tough is. So story short, to try to answer to your question, one is bridging strategy and action. And then second, in this decarbonization journey, you can't do it alone, right? If you're doing alone, it won't work. So you need to engage with partnerships. You need to engage your complete ecosystem. And fundamentally, inside Schneider, in all humbleness, this is what we've been trying to do for ourselves, but also doing it for our partners and our customers.
You say strategy and action, and what comes to mind for me is the change of culture. How do you think about emission targets and the adoption of new technologies as two key areas that really requires force from our C-suite executives, but also from the nimbleness of teams, and what can be done to foster that momentum and that sense of urgency around collaboration?
I think first, fundamentally, setting the vision, where the company wants to go, in terms, of course, of sustainability, but overall in terms of ESG. And once that vision is set, I think one of the key roles of our executive leaders is fundamentally to encourage, once again, partnerships. Let me give you just one example. Talking about scope 3 emissions reduction. Engaging suppliers in an overall supply chain decarbonization program is something really hard. I mean, you got to get buy-in, you got to get awareness. This is what we've been striving to do, to get partnerships, but also leaders on boards that have, by the way, common suppliers, in order for them to onboard these suppliers and then benefit from the volume effect in order to source, for example, together PPAs, energy attribute certificates, and therefore benefit from the volume effect. So in that regards, I really believe that partnerships, clean energy, collaboration, coalition are really key. And then you have a second example that was on the previous slide, which is everything related to technology sharing platforms. And so understanding where you sit in terms of your scope 3 emissions reduction, but also where your suppliers, for example, also are in this journey. And therefore, within these two different pillars, once again, on one side, collaboration, partnerships, clean energy coalition, and then on the second side, more the digitization piece or the technology sharing platforms, these are really two key enablers, and this is for me one of the roles of C-level executives.
It's all very complex, and we are nearly out of time, but I'm going to get you to have like 3 core things for the audience to take away. So what are the challenges, obstacles, and opportunities that companies looking to better integrate sustainability models into their business?
Yeah, you know, I think if we were to have this conversation maybe 2 or 3 years ago, there would definitely be a lot of challenges, obstacles. Let's remind ourselves that 2 years ago, Europe was facing a huge energy crisis with prices that was just skyrocketing. And energy efficiency, we talked about it earlier on, just became a no-brainer because not only it was the cheapest energy not to consume, but also the business case became really, really lower. So for me, quite frankly, now sustainability, I see definitely much more opportunities than challenges.